Washington. Good morning in the rest of the country, and welcome to Broadband Breakfast Live Online. My name is Drew Clark, editor and publisher of Broadband Breakfast, and very happy to welcome each of you to our special preview event for digital infrastructure investment in 2022, or I should say Digital Infrastructure Investment Washington. I just wanted to take this time to kind of thank you for being here with us, and also welcome you to really, I guess I should say, the outlines that we've now published about the upcoming event, and also to invite those of you who are with us here, which is an exciting group of people who follow us on our Broadband Breakfast Live Online events on Zoom. Obviously, some of you are registered here. We also, of course, live stream all of these events at Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, and excited that you were able to see these events soon after or immediately after live stream. In fact, the events that we're having. Let me just kind of make sure everyone is aware of our upcoming schedule, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so people can see what's happening in the upcoming weeks. As you know from being at previous Broadband Breakfast Live Online events, we are always trying to be timely, topical, update the events that we have in order to respond to the news and the things that are most pressing in the community that cares about better broadband, better lives. And I wanted to, again, as you know from previous events, we obviously cover lots of different topics. So let me go ahead and share my screen for those of you who are with us here, both on Zoom and our other platforms. Zoom's just a little bit trickier on the screen share feature than other platforms. But here is our upcoming Broadband Breakfast Live Online events. As you can see today, we're focusing in previewing Broadband Breakfast Live Online's digital infrastructure investment. Next week, we're going to focus on taxing broadband grants. There is a bill in Congress that would change this, and we're going to explore that in depth with the decision makers who are involved. We're going to be focusing on October 26th on how to value your fiber company, which is a crucial issue in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act rollout. We will be talking about workforce development on November 2nd. There's a lot of efforts going on, particularly because of supply chain issues and labor shortages. This becomes a pressing question. And on the 9th, we're going to do another, hopefully hopefully we'll have more guests. That's our plan, because again, we've just announced our program this week, and we're going to flesh this out as we go along. But on November 9th, we're going to be talking in much greater detail about what you can expect if you attend Digital Infrastructure Investment Washington. And then on the 16th, the day before, we'll be talking about broadband mapping and data. And we will have an exciting program for you on that date. And then you can see, of course, links to DII Washington on this page as well. So I'm going to stop my screen share for the moment. I probably will come back to it in a bit of time. But let me give you an outline for what we're going to talk about today, October 12th, 2022. I may not have given that. I always try to give that date right up top. We're going to focus on just a little explanation, a recap of some of the content we make available on Broadband Breakfast for all of you, our free content, if you will. And we're also going to be speaking a little bit about some of the paid events, the digital infrastructure investment events that we've had in the past, as well as others. Because this is a paid event for $299, you'll be able to attend this in-person event. There will not be a live stream. I know that's kind of maybe a little bit cross purposes for what we normally do, because normally we do this, and we do We will keep doing Broadband Breakfast Live Online every Wednesday at 12 noon. We do this free weekly webcast, and we'll continue to do that. But we are adding the special DII, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things we've done in the past with this DII event, because it actually has a long history, right? 3 years. This is our fourth conference that we'll be doing digital infrastructure investment. So we hope that you will be able to appreciate what we've done with this conference in the past and why right now is different and crucial point, as well as, laying out some of the things that we are going to be speaking about. And then again, just before I get into the bulk of the past DII conferences, the present, what we're planning on doing, we want to open it up to each of you on Zoom as well as the other platforms. If you have reactions, questions, or suggestions, because we're still 5+ weeks out, almost a month and a half before DII Washington on November 17th, Thursday, November 17th. So we certainly have the opportunity to include these comments and suggestions as part of the DII event that will take place in Washington, D.C. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have attended our in-person events. So I've spoken about digital infrastructure investment, and we'll come back to that just now. But we've also hosted monthly, we call them Broadband Breakfast for Lunch events. And these events have been in-person events. Again, like I said earlier, we have live streamed some of these in-person events. This coming conference, not going to be live streamed, but at previous in-person events, Broadband Breakfast Live Online, or I should say Broadband Breakfast for Lunch events, we gather at Clyde's of Gallery Place. And again, I'm not sure how many of you that I see in our stream here today have been to Clyde's of Gallery Place. It is we hope you'll agree, it's a very nice restaurant. It's right at Gallery Place. I guess that's the used to be called the MCI Center. I think now it's the Verizon Center, but it's the ice arena for DC, and it's right in Chinatown, right on the edge of Chinatown here in DC. And we after working with them for so long, in fact, more than 10 years, we've been having events at Clyde's of Gallery Place. We approached them about doing our conference there, and normally conferences are at some fancy hotel somewhere. Now we're at a fancy restaurant, right? Clyde's of Gallery Place, and we're very excited. There'll be both, a breakfast portion and a nice breakfast, and then of course a luncheon portion as well. And the conference will run from 8:30 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon, full day conference. And again, we'll be talking in this hour or this 52 minutes about what we're going to be doing at that conference. But I just wanted to highlight its location, right? It's at Clyde's of Gallery Place. It's a unique location, and we hope you'll agree. It's not too small, not too large, kind of a Goldilocks location, right? We can certainly accommodate anywhere between 60, 100, 120 or more guests that will attend. And that's kind of somewhere we're expecting, somewhere from 60 to 120. And we do hope that each of you who are participating in this BBLO event will also attend our DII event, our digital infrastructure investment event. All right. So with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the past. Okay. And again, I'm going to go back to screen sharing a little bit more on Broadband Breakfast. Now, again, I'm hoping most of you are familiar with our website, Broadband Breakfast. We are all about better broadband, better lives. And to us, that means that we care about the infrastructure, and we also care about the applications and use of that infrastructure. And so that is why we talk about that. And that's why we are constantly providing and updating the news that's available on our site. Every business day, you'll see news stories. I was happy that one of our reporters posted a story right here at the top about our event last Wednesday. So this is about the great discussion that took place with our three guests who participated in that event. They were Carol Maddie, Rosalind Layton, and Angie Cronenberg. And the core of the discussion, as those of you who attended know, was about how broad or or narrow changes to the Universal Service Fund reform should be. So that was the discussion, and like I said just now, we continue to do these events, but I wanted to point out for you all a little bit more of the features on Broadband Breakfast. Again, these are the core content areas: our infrastructure, our broadband's impact, big tech, and then we have our opinion piece, or expert opinion. And we have, in fact, we are open to proposals, to articles that those of you who participate and attend our events actively would like to submit. Garland McCoy, I believe, falls in that category, and we were happy to publish his expert opinion about broadband maps. The reason I'm taking you on this tour of the website is to highlight this last tab, digital infrastructure investment. And if you click on that tab, you'll come to the updated URL for the upcoming event, okay, and the program in 5 weeks and change in Washington, D.C. And again, this page will be updated as we have more confirmations. We are super excited. We hope to have many very high placed officials in the legislative and executive branches in the broadband space attending, but we're not able to confirm those just at this time. But we will be posting the outlines of our keynote addresses, our panel presentations, our sponsor presentations, and other aspects of it. Right now, though, again, I'm walking you through the other events that we've highlighted. Okay, so again, like I said, this is not something we just started yesterday. This is a theme before the pandemic started, right? And as the pandemic took off, we held fast to this concept here. So I'm just going to read this all for you. You know, the annual Digital Infrastructure Investment Program brings the broadband infrastructure and financial services communities together to focus on the digital infrastructure and investment asset profile, including fiber, small cells, towers, and data center assets that is required to support a 21st century information economy. The path-breaking program unites infrastructure investment fund managers, institutional investors, private equity, and venture capitalists with senior broadband leaders, and brings clarity to the next business model for advanced digital infrastructure. So that's kind of our core mission for this conference. And again, you can see information about each of the 3 events we've already had. The past 3 events have all been conjunct with broadband communities in Washington. We continue to partner with them, hope to be partnering with them in the future, but we've also decided to add a second conference this year, in addition to the one we had in May at Houston digital at broadband communities in Houston. This one will be an independent freestanding full day event at Clyde's of Gallery Place. But like I said, I want to take a few minutes, about 5 minutes here, to walk you through a couple of the previous events. And you know, if you bear with me, I think this actually has and it's kind of odd. When I'm looking at my other screen, it's quite funny. I don't know, fuzzy. I don't know why that is not coming across as well. But obviously, just go to the URL for this event, and I will include the URL as soon as I have a moment in this stream. But this is where we started, right? In 2020, we focused, and we encourage you to watch these 2-minute videos that talk through the themes of the event. And again, like I said, I believe they stand up quite well. This event, which was sponsored by Utopia Fiber and Sci-Fi Networks, included and this one took place all online because of the pandemic. It was completely online, completely on Zoom, right? And so this event had those introductory elements to bring the digital audience together. We had 3 discussions in DII 2020, right? The first one was around last mile digital infrastructure. And again, you can see some of the articles that we publish on Broadband Breakfast resulting. We encourage you to read those. Ownership models are evolving to serve the unserved, say panelists at digital infrastructure investment. Okay, and this included these speakers. We had the CEO of Utopia Fiber, the Director of Marketing Development and Government Affairs for Ting Internet, the Executive Director of Connect Maine, and Christopher Mitchell of the Community Broadband Networks Program of the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. Great panel, great program that led into our second discussion, or I should say, led into our keynote address by the CEO of CityFiber, for CityFiber being the third major telecom provider in the United Kingdom. And Greg and his team at CityFiber have really done an incredible job of pioneering the wholesale network model. And he talked us through how that came to be, and some of the issues and challenges and opportunities that CityFiber was facing. And again, you can read the article. The content was available for only those who attended, but you can at least read a little bit about the program. And again, we encourage you. This conference, Digital Infrastructure Investment Washington, is going to be in person only. We will do videos, we will take videos, and we will make those available after the event to those who subscribe to the event or other products of Broadband Breakfast. But if you want to attend, make plans to be there in person at Clyde's of Gallery Place on November 17th. Now, after the first panel and Greg Mesh's keynote, we talked through infrastructure investment funds. And this was, a great topic as we talked of the pandemic. Now, the pandemic has already begun to, highlight the real crucial role of high capacity broadband, but we weren't at the point where we had a clear idea for how funding would evolve to meet that circumstance. And at this second panel on infrastructure investment funds, which was moderated by Jace Wilson, the founder of Ready.net, and now, of course, is the pioneer of Broadband.money, partner and sponsor of Broadband Breakfast. This panel on infrastructure investment funds included Ben Bautry-Jobson, CEO of Sci-Fi Networks, Mike Falloon of Ready.net, and Chris Perlitz of Municipal Capital Markets Group. And again, you can see a little bit more about that by reading the article on the open access infrastructure, important but difficult to develop, said those panelists. And then we had a final panel that was on the future of shared infrastructure. Okay, so you got to think about shared infrastructure being, the towers, the assets, the physical assets that accompany the digital assets, right? And so this event that I moderated included Blair Levin, the former executive director of the National Broadband Plan, Dean Bubley of Disruptive Analysis, and Oliver Pilko of View Capital Advisors. And so those were the three panels and the one keynote in that first event in 2020. Lot of great information already available right there on this part of our website. So now I'm going to take you to the next year, 2021. All right. So for this was a half-day conference. We had 4 panels this year, and this again was at Broadband Communities. The first one was at Broadband Communities virtually, but because they had no conference in person that year, it was all virtual, including virtual inclusion in their virtual program. So it got complicated in those days. This year, we're going back to all in person at Digital Infrastructure Investment Washington, November 17th, 2022. So now, just again, the past. We're still on the past. That's the portion of our discussion today. We're talking about the past, then we're going to talk about the present, the opportunity, and then we'll also get your thoughts. So in 2021, we focused on again, sort of an introductory keynote address. We focused on infrastructure investment funds in our first panel, and again, we had a good variety, all new people at this session that we hadn't had in the last year. We heard from them, from MC Partners, KeyBank Capital Markets, Ice Miller, and FrontBridge Capital. This was on infrastructure investment funds, and we discussed, again, September 2021, a little over a year ago, we talked about the Biden administration's infrastructure package and how it was influencing institutional investors. So how mergers and acquisitions would accelerate or not in the space because of what has now come to be called as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. We talk next about last mile digital infrastructure. This event brought together panelists from Ting Internet, from Google Fiber, from Tachus LLC, and the city of Brownsville, as well as York County, Pennsylvania, all to talk about the ownership models for digital infrastructure, how they're changing, what entities, including cities, will own digital assets, who will manage those networks. So you can see a theme, right? We certainly believe that there needs to be a variety of opportunities for municipalities and the private sector to participate in the better broadband that we're all focused on at this time. And this panel here, as you saw at the 2020 event, focused on some of these ownership models. It talked a fair bit about open access in this panel and another panel, and I certainly expect we'll hear more about that in digital infrastructure investment Washington later this fall. Okay, just in five weeks and change. We had our third panel was on public-private partnerships, and for this panel we had a state office very focused on broadband, Matt Schmidt, the director of the Illinois Broadband Office. We also had the Northwest Open Access Network official, Chris Walker. And then we had the Northwest Colorado, two Northwest, different parts of the country, Northwest Washington State and Northwest Colorado Council of Governments. And then we had the California Emerging Technology Fund. All together, Chris Mitchell moderated. He's been a factor in several of our events, and we're grateful for that, participating in this discussion of public-private partnerships. So that was the third panel, right? So the first, recapping, the first was on funding, the second was on last mile, the third was on public-private partnerships, and then the fourth panel was the future of shared infrastructure. And again, similar themes, talking about the cell towers, how they were once proprietary before carriers partnered with infrastructure owners. Will 5G deployment accelerate the deployment of shared real estate facilities? We had then President and CEO of the Wireless Infrastructure Association. He's moved on to another role, Jonathan Adelstein. We had Earl Peak of Diamond Ventures and Deborah Simpier of Althea Networks, moderated by Mari Sibley of US Ignite. So, and I think just, we probably haven't posted the articles, which is an oversight on my part. We will go back and post the articles on each of these four sessions because we had good articles. Again, you're not able, unless you registered and attended, to watch the session, but we do have reporting about each of these. So last past recap is Digital Infrastructure Investment 2022. So this event took place about 5 months ago, and it was at the Broadband Communities Summit in Houston, Texas. This panel was a little bit shorter, so maybe in some respects we're catching up, right? We're doing what we were not able to do in terms of a full day session, and there were 2 sessions in DII 2022 at Broadband Communities, and you do see the articles from this event. The agenda included private funding and public funding. So again, 2-part events. The private funding panel brought together the CEOs of Next Level Networks and Stealth Communications, 2 ISPs with interesting and creative business models, with 2 financial service players, Sidewalk Infrastructure Partners, an offshoot of Google's Alphabet, and Pinpoint Capital Advisors. And so together we kind of talked about both the operational and the financial portions. And again, you can see links to articles, including expert opinion pieces by Noah Tulsky of Sidewalk and by Shrihari Pandit of Stealth Networks. Okay, so both those articles are highlighted there in this page. And then we had a second panel on public financing. And this one we brought together folks from key banks, but also folks from the government, state government, and a nonprofit organization, California Emerging Technology Fund, together with a very successful operator of an infrastructure network, namely Utopia, the Utah Telecommunications Open Infrastructure Agency, government agency, interlocal government agency, but operating like a lean machine, right? I mean, a great operator of services that has really, I think, revived to some extent, to a great extent, the open access as open access model as a serious model for consideration in the United States. And again, we heard from how City Fiber has pioneered. Now, they don't call it open access. They refer to their model as wholesale access, but it really effectively is open access. I mean, they allow individual operators to resell the services of City Fiber. And so we heard from that in our 2020 event. Here in the 2022 event, we hear from operators in the United States. All right, so that concludes the portion on the past. And so now, again, if you go to either hit the DII conference or the DII Washington portion, and you'll come to our event. See, one-day conference at Clyde's of Gallery Place, Thursday, November 17th, 2022, from 8:30 till 3:30 is the hours. We want you to get there in time so we can get started at 8:30. We will have keynote addresses, and we're looking forward to introducing those over the next few weeks. But let's tell you what we have announced, okay? So what's important about this event? And so forgive me, I'm going to skim to the bottom of this page here, right? So we've highlighted in our material, and I want to highlight here today, that the far-reaching scope of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and the opportunities it presents to connect Americans. Because of that, our conference here, Digital Infrastructure Investment Washington, will cover topics including mapping and investment in a range of technologies, wireless and wired, and their impact on smart cities, the impact on real estate, the best financial partners for the rollout of IIJA across the country. And these are among the topics we're going to be discussing: how the federal, state, and private sector assets combine, private equity and venture capital reacting to IIJA, the markets for small cells, towers, and data centers, the impact of digital infrastructure investment on real estate investment, broadband mapping and its role in the IIJA, and the progress of smart cities deployment. So those are some of our core talking points for the content that you can expect at digital infrastructure investment. But in terms of our program, in addition to keynotes that will be announced, we have 4 panels for this event, all right? What's the state of the IIJA, or Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act? That's panel 1. Panel 2, broadband mapping. Are we on the right track or the wrong track? Panel 3, financing mechanisms for community broadband. And panel 4, financing roundtable. This will be our concluding panel: how venture capital, private equity, and institutional investors are watching digital infrastructure. And we've already announced I'll be moderating that panel, but we'll have 3 other moderators for these first 3 sessions, in addition, as I've said, to the keynote addresses. So just another kind of 2 minutes or 3 minutes on these 4 topics, okay? So by what is the state of IIJA? We're really referring to the fact that this law, it actually, unusual history of timing, it passed the Senate in August of 2021, but it took 3 more months for the House to pass it, in large part because of, I believe, stupidity on the part of the Democrats in not bringing this up sooner. They basically waited until the off-year elections and then panicked that they hadn't done what they promised to do in terms of infrastructure investment. And then soon after the election in November, the House leaders let it go through, and it did indeed have the votes to pass. And then, of course, President Biden signed it on November 15th of last year. So it will be just a year and 2 days after the signing of this law, when we hold Digital Infrastructure Investment Washington. And so we're going to talk about the past year and the state of the implementation of IIJA and what we can look forward to in the future, because it certainly has taken a while, and it will take another 6 months or more from November to get these funds out to where they're going. Where are they going? Well, they're going to state broadband offices. That's the way the program was designed. Not except for a small sum of money through Middle Mile and through other programs, the tribal broadband program that are funded, as well as the affordable connectivity program funded by IIJA over to the FCC. The bulk of the funds, as I believe most of you will know, is from the Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment Act, or I should say program, BEAD, Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment Program. That $42.5 billion is going to states in the form of effectively block grants, but it is supervised by the NTIA. So NTIA continues to have a role in the process. So we're going to be talking about all of these aspects, right? The state of implementations, the state broadband offices, the pace, what are the next things to do to prepare for, and how big of a jolt, that is to say, seismic or moderate, because it's going to be a jolt. It's going to be a significant impact on the broadband industry. The question is, how much of an impact, how big of an impact will IIJA have on the industry as a whole? That's our panel one. Panel two, we're going to drill into, as we have on many of our Broadband Breakfast Live Online programs, broadband mapping. This one's going to focus on, are we on the right track or the wrong track, right? And so this conference will come just on the cusp, either just after or just before the FCC has promised its maps. FCC Chairwoman Jessica Rosenworth has promised the updated broadband maps by November, and we've reported that. We can find that in many places in our Broadband Breakfast coverage. We're going to speak about whether resolution of the concern about maps is just around the corner or way into the future, right? And how the mapping process, the challenges, and the game plan for government and industry participants, how all that will play out. Again, we'll be announcing the panelists and the moderator for this session in coming weeks. Our third panel will be on financing for community broadband, okay? And again, I think it's really vital that we don't lose sight of community broadband. We cannot view, in my opinion, IIJA as all about rural, right? And that's not the way the administration, that's not the way NTIA Administrator Alan Davidson has spoken about the program. It's about getting affordable broadband connectivity to those Americans who don't have it. And so this panel will drill into a lot of the emerging and evolving discussions around kind of nonprofit and government funding and approaches to broadband, and the kind of private sector traditional approach from either public markets or private equity towards funding commercial broadband deployments. And so we're going to talk about some new activities, some new reports, the emerging notion of a community connectivity provider, and the game plan for municipalities in light of IIJA. There may be a lack of opportunity to get funding for unserved and even potentially underserved locations through IIJA, but IIJA is definitely impacting community broadband. And so we're going to be talking about that in our third panel. And our fourth panel, which again I'll moderate, will bring together venture capital, private equity, institutional investors, each of these different aspects of financing broadband. We will be speaking with them. And like I said, this will be our concluding session of the 4 sessions, plus a couple keynotes and other presentations at digital infrastructure investment. So I'm going to stop my screen share. Again, I appreciate all of you sticking with us for this discussion. We've talked about the past, right? We've talked about the present, so to speak, the event that we've announced, and we're looking forward to your participation in on November 17th. But I wanted to open it up to those of you who are on either on Zoom or on the other platforms, and I'll check now for the other platforms in just a moment. If you have any questions about DII Washington, or you have suggestions about the topics we've laid out, like I said, a bit of a balanced act because we've obviously reached out to many people, and we look forward to announcing more soon. But we're not too late in the process or too early in the process that we cannot include additional suggestions and thoughts. And lines of inquiry. So I'm going to just give you a moment to open up to questions. Meanwhile, I'm going to put a couple of these links into the chat window so that you can make sure to access these. This one I'm putting in now is the sort of the master link that you go to. It will provide links to all the other events that we have, or all the other past events that we've had. And I'm just going to leave it at that, right? Because you are going to be able to find your way to all the other information there. I guess what I will do is I will check on other platforms if there are other people participating in our other sessions, and to invite your questions about DII Washington. That is coming up in just over 5 weeks now. I'll give you a moment for that. You know, when we took the poll, we did this 2 weeks ago, or I think it was 2 weeks ago. We took a poll of those of you again who are participating on Zoom in our Broadband Breakfast Live Online session, and you know, the two topics that really gathered a lot of support for those who wanted to participate in Broadband Breakfast Live Online events, and one was the broadband mapping events, and the other was our digital infrastructure investment preview events. And this kind of decided to do a preview now to kind of get the word out, to let people know about the conference, about what we've announced, and to encourage you to get your calendars lined up, and then of course to register. And I am going to give one more opportunity for everyone to, if you have any questions, you know, if you don't, that's totally fine. You can still reach me and us online. And I'm going to go ahead and put 2 emails in our chat window on Zoom. We have also brought on board, let me just actually send you the link I've already sent. Just click to that page, digital infrastructure investment. You can also kind of shorthand it by just doing /DII. That will redirect you to the digital infrastructure investment page. When you go to that page, you will also see a little bit at the bottom, contact information. In addition to myself, you can also reach our marketing director, M. McPhee. She is available at the email address provided right there. So I encourage you to reach out to either of us if you have questions about the digital infrastructure investment or our other programs that we offer. So thank you for being with us for this 38 minutes. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate your listening, paying attention to our upcoming event. Like I said, I wanted to get this out so people could see it, could get it on their calendars, and we will be updating, of course, Broadband Breakfast with new information, new panelists, new participants in digital infrastructure investment. Our next free program, Broadband Breakfast Live Online program, will be next Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern time. And during that program, we're going to be talking about taxing broadband grants. Can it be changed? That's our topic for next Wednesday, October 19th. The topic for the next Wednesday, 2 weeks from today, is how to value your fiber company. And you can see all of the other future events that are available at Broadband Breakfast Live Online /BBLO. That will take you there. So with that, unless I see any questions really quick, I am going to bring this BBLO session to a close. I appreciate all of you being with us, and we will see you next Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern time. Take